Welcome to CITAM ChurchOnline. This is Karita Mbagara, the Deputy Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries. There is a story in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 20, where Ahab, who was the king of Israel, went to battle against the Arameans. He defeated them in the valley. When they went home, they said that they were defeated because the God of Israel is the God of the valleys, but not the hills. And this we find in verse 28, that a man of God came up and told the king of Israel, "This is what the Lord says, because the Arameans think the Lord is a God of the hills and not a God of the valleys, I will deliver this vast army into your hands, and you will know that I am the Lord." Actually, the battle was in the hills, not in the valleys. The first battle was in the hills, and they said that the God of Israel is a God of the hills. Now, this thinking is prevalent to our present life because there are ways that we behave that suggest that God belongs to certain places and not to others. The first mistake that we make is to think that God is relevant only on Sundays, and we could call those the hills, but not other days. So God is worshipped, God is adored on Sundays, but when we go on Monday to the place of work, we forget that God is also there. And many people don't involve God in their day-to-day lives because God belongs to Sundays. But there is also the second mistake, that God belongs to, is to be celebrated when we have good times. God is not there when we are going through difficult situations. And I'm sure you have encountered people that are asking, where is God? God can't be here. Because they think God was God, and they will say, God blessed me with this and the other when things were going right. But when things go wrong, you think God has abandoned his seat. Of course, the converse is also true. There are people who think that God is only God when they are in trouble. That's when they call upon his name. That's when they turn to him. But when things are going right, they don't turn to God. It is the same as the way the Arameans thought, that God is a God of the hills, not of the valleys. But also, there is another mistake that we make, that this God is a God of certain people. He's the God of Abraham. He did this and that for Elijah. He did this and the other for Moses. He did this and the other for David. He did this for Paul. But he's not God of me, for example. Or he's not your God. And therefore, he's the God of those who are great heroes and heroines, but not the God of the simple, ordinary person. That is another mistake that we make, that we must be delivered from. Our God is our God on a continuous basis, and he is willing to listen to every one of us that looks up to him, and he is willing to help you. The final mistake that I want to say is that we think that the gospel is only applicable, or this God and his message is only applicable to certain kinds of people. He can only save those who, we think there are some people who are savable, but there are people who are beyond redemption. It is still the same kind of thinking, God of the hills, but not God of the valleys. I want to tell you, God is a God of all seasons. He's a God of all times. He is a God of all situations. He's a God of all people, the God that we worship. And I want you to take time to look at the areas where you have excluded the involvement of God in your life and start asking him to forgive you, and also start living in faith that God will stand with you, will walk with you in each and every situation. In this COVID season, he is God. When there was no COVID, he was God. When there will be no COVID, he will remain God. So hold on to him and know that he is a God of the mountains and he's God of the valleys. He will walk with you no matter what is happening. Such is our God, who never gets better, who doesn't change with time. Our God is reliable, He is consistent, and He cares for us at all times. I pray that this will be helpful to you and will be a blessing. And I invite you to subscribe if you have not yet subscribed. And I also invite you to come next week when we'll be continuing on the kind of God that we worship, following this same text. God bless you and have a great week.